We had a wild Sunday of action across the NFL, but the center of Monday's conversation, the Commanders' Hail Mary victory over the Bears. Chicago cornerback, as seen right there, Tyrique Stevenson, the center of that conversation after celebrating with fans, as he said, as the ball was snapped and well into the play. He then the hand that tipped the ball right to a wide-open Noah Brown, and it was, in fact, Stevenson's assignment, the box out of Brown. Here's what he had to say. Also, head coach Matt Eberflus sounding off on Monday.
I talk to the players all the time about it. You know, it's great to have passion, and I think it's great to have that great enthusiasm for the game. I said, but it also comes to a point where your emotions go over the top, and then you lose focus. And you got to have to be able to have that balance. If you're that type of player that plays with great intensity, like Tyrique does, to be able to have that so it doesn't go over the top and you lose your focus and your concentration.
The only regret I have from yesterday is just letting this team down from, working hard and coming back and putting ourselves in a W column, and just for me to be out of place and do something that's out of character of me and just cost us a loss.
Massive implications in that NFC playoff picture. We now welcome in CBS Sports NFL writer Tyler Sullivan with his reaction. Tyler, it's all the football world is talking about right now, starting with that Tyrique Stevenson moment. Obviously, mistakes made prior to even that Hail Mary rep that cost the Bears the game. How do you assess all we saw in that final 10 minutes of action and sort of the reaction to it here on Monday?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Stevenson's going to bear the brunt of all of this in the immediate, right? Because you can't all of a sudden be celebrating or taunting fans, whichever way you want to parse that, and then all of a sudden completely blowing the game less than two seconds later, effectively. You're going to go through your lumps there, and Matt Eberflus is putting the blame squarely on his shoulders, talking to the media today. But I do wonder, as we get further away from this, and you kind of alluded to this as well, is how much of this is going to be remembered about Stevenson and how much of this should be remembered about the poor execution and the poor coaching of Matt Eberflus, because I think that that's kind of the problem here. As much as we're talking about a player being unfocused, well, then how often is that on the head coach? That feels like something that is certainly under his purview, and Eberflus was even talking about it. He was supposed to be the player that boxes out Noah Brown, and you see in this clip here, he's nowhere near Noah Brown, making the play on the ball, in fact, giving the ball essentially to Noah Brown there. So it just feels like a lack of coaching discipline in there as well, hammering the point home to the player, one, to be ready for that final moment, and two, be where you're supposed to be on the field. Of course, there's other issues along that collapse down the stretch there. I don't know why that they were playing so much prevent before Jaden Daniels threw that out before the Hail Mary. There's a lot of questions here about Matt Eberflus as much as we're going on Stevenson today. Said that 15-yard play prior to it didn't matter at all. It certainly seemed to, and if you're going to hand the ball to an offensive lineman at the 6-minute mark, maybe you hand it to a running back, the game script, the butterfly effect plays out differently. Tyler, you know the lens that I look at this through, and I appreciate you offering some thoughts here on the Bears. Elsewhere, we take a look at a Patriots team who's going to be without their quarterback, possibly. From number 1 to number 3, Drake Maye entering concussion protocol after getting taken out late in the first quarter against the Jets due to a hit up high. Maye had thrown 5 TDs in his first 2 career starts in New England coming into Week 8. His replacement, Jacoby Brissett, led a late game-winning drive against the Jets and may have to be the Pats' QB1 as they travel to face the Titans on Sunday. Tyler, as I look through the lens of the Chicago Bears, I know you look through the looking glass of the New England Patriots. Is there any rush to get Maye back into the fold here? Obviously, those reps all valuable to get him up to speed where they want him to be as the focus becomes next year already. Are they perfectly content riding with Brissett until Maye is fully ready to return? Yeah, I think that's the smart play, right? I think, of course, you'd love to see the progress of your young quarterback, and Maye has made tremendous strides. He strikes me as someone who gets better with more reps. I know that there's the argument of, oh, well, let's let him sit behind the shadows and learn. I kind of think he's the player that needs to kind of get his hands dirty to really develop. I saw that firsthand during training camp. As it got along, he was really gaining steam on Jacoby Brissett, making it a legit competition. And just over these last few weeks here as well, you're you're starting to see him really polish himself in just the little things. There's feeling pressure and knowing when to get rid of the football, and of course there's the rushing for touchdowns and off-platform throws. But to me, there's a little bit more of high-level quarterback play in terms of knowing when to risk things and when not to that I've seen from Drake Maye. Of course, he was sliding in that play. He gets hurt. It happens in the NFL. But if I'm Jerod Mayo and the New England Patriots, I very much pump the brakes on what we are going to deal with here with Drake Maye. You're going against the Tennessee Titans team that you should beat with Jacoby Brissett, but it's really not about the wins and the losses at this point. It's really about developing an overall culture. I know that so much is on Drake Maye and what he's supposed to look like, but this was a pivotal week for Jerod Mayo because he was getting a lot of flack up in the New England area about how bad this team has looked. Yes, the Jets played their part in that defeat, but getting a win in that spot and now having a favorable matchup against the Tennessee Titans, who are right down at your level, they should be able to pick up a win here without Drake Maye with Jacoby Brissett under center.
They certainly should. And we now turn from a quarterback that left after a hit up high to a quarterback that left to catch his breath. Anthony Richardson with another lackluster outing in the Colts' 23-20 loss to the Texans in Week 8, going just 10 of 32 for 175. Colts head coach Shane Steichen said they're evaluating everything when it comes to their QB1 decision for Indy's Sunday matchup against the Vikings. Tyler, I guess the question here becomes, what is your goal when you're looking at this Indianapolis team? Is it to win right now? Maybe that answer is then Joe Flacco at quarterback. If it is to develop the young quarterback, well, we need you out here for a full set of reps. What do you make of what we saw on Sunday, and what's the proper direction forward for Indy?
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. I've been covering the league for a long time now, and I've never seen a quarterback check out the way that Anthony Richardson did, just because, as he noted, he was simply tired. Obviously, injuries play a part of it, but it was one of the more remarkable things that I've seen on a football field from a player effort standpoint. And if you are the Indianapolis coaching staff, you do have to somewhat send a message here. I know that Richardson has been given a long leash because of his sheer talent that we've seen at very minimal points throughout the course of this season and last season. But at the same time, you do have a player in Joe Flacco that has played well with this current roster around him. So it's really kind of an interesting test case here for Shane Steichen to, yes, play the quarterback that has a high ceiling, but also you need to galvanize your locker room as well. If you just keep throwing a quarterback out there that is completing 10 of 32 in a football game and is subbing out when he's tired, it's just really tough to convince that locker room that you're doing everything for the best interest of that football team to win that specific week. So it's going to be interesting. I commend him for kind of keeping it open, whether or not they're going to play Joe Flacco or bench Anthony Richardson. I think that alone sends a message that the effort standpoint is not up to snuff. But overall, it's a very interesting circumstance, not only for this season, but going forward with Anthony Richardson.
We'll see how it all plays out there. Elsewhere, it's a San Francisco team that ran the ball quite effectively in their Sunday night win over Dallas, but no doubt who RB1's going to be when RB1 gets back. Could be soon. When we see Christian McCaffrey, 49ers planning to open his IR window after their upcoming bye week. McCaffrey missed the first 8 games of the season with Achilles tendonitis. 49ers went 4-4 in his absence. San Fran's next matchup will be in Tampa against the Buccaneers. Tyler, as we know, an open IR window doesn't mean active assignment needs to be actively assigned in the 21 days that follow the opening of that practice window. When you look at Christian McCaffrey and his readiness to not just play but be impactful in this run game and the things that it changes for Kyle Shanahan, what will that onboarding look like? I mean, we're still dealing with a guy here that day to day is going to be dealing with something down low.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting how they kind of massage McCaffrey back into the fold. Kyle Shanahan talking today that they're going to really try to ramp things up over the course of this bye week with the hopes that he can have a full week of practice once they come off the bye. And I don't necessarily question McCaffrey's ability or willingness to really try to push it as far as he can go to try to get back onto the field. But my question is, when you're talking about Achilles injuries and things like that, you have to sometimes caution patience a little bit as well. I know that they've obviously been doing that throughout the season, but to me, let's play a little bit more of a long game here. This is a wide open division. I think that they can, still massage things. Just because he might be ready to go doesn't mean I don't think he should get the Christian McCaffrey type workload. We'll see what Jordan Mason looks like coming out of the bye after he suffered a shoulder injury. They might shuffle running backs a little bit more than we're used to, but when he is back and when Christian McCaffrey is in the fold, it's night and day for this team that drastically needs a boost on offense. They're awful in the red zone right now, one of the worst in the NFL, when they were unbelievable with Christian McCaffrey in his, I believe it was 18 rushing touchdowns last season, or 18 red zone touchdowns last season. It's a night and day difference with him on the field for this 49ers team and with them off. And with the injuries that they've already been dealt with this season, it's going to help them contend in the NFC West. It's just a matter of not pushing it too much so he hurts you, or he's not available to you as you go down the stretch.
Tyler Sullivan, appreciate your work as always, pal. You can find Tyler on CBSSports.com. You can find him also here on CBS Sports HQ. News, highlights, and scores 24/7, 365. Join us on HQ.